I want to start today with a question that feels, well, it feels a little small. Maybe even trivial, you know? It's definitely not the usual life and death stuff we cover.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Go for it.
What does a Stoic philosopher, and I'm talking about the heavy hitters like
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, what do they have to say about your skincare routine? Or how long you spend on your hair in the morning?
It almost sounds like the start of a joke.
Yeah.
Because when we think of Stoics, we have this very specific kind of dusty image in our minds.
Oh, absolutely. I'm picturing a guy with a messy beard, rough robe, probably hasn't been washed in weeks, just sitting on a rock somewhere.
Maybe yelling at people for caring about nice things. The classic sloppy Stoic archetype.
Exactly. So if you'd asked me that before we did this research, I would have guessed the answer is either I don't care at all, or, stop being so vain and go think about your mortality.
And honestly, if you just skim the surface or look at the memes, you might think that.
Mhm.
But looking at the deep dive we've done, that assumption is just completely wrong.
That's what really surprised me going through these notes. The Stoic view on appearance, it isn't don't do it. It's actually incredibly nuanced.
It is. It's not about fashion or aesthetics or even hygiene, really. It is, at its core, a question of motivation. And it hits this really uncomfortable middle ground where most of us actually live.
Okay, let's unpack that middle ground, because I think for most listeners, and I'm definitely including myself here, we aren't living these wild, hedonistic lives spending hours in front of a mirror.
And we aren't living like monks in a cave either.
Not at all. We're functioning adults. We have jobs. We go on dates. We see people.
We take care of ourselves. We groom, we buy the moisturizer, we get the haircut.
Exactly. But if you asked us why, it's specifically beyond just, I want to look nice, I think most of us would stumble a little bit.
That stumble. That's exactly what the Stoics are interested in. They want to poke at that hesitation. And the source material describes this really specific, almost haunting moment that I think everyone has felt.
Which moment is that?
You're standing in front of a mirror, You're done. You've shaved or put on makeup or fixed your hair. You look fine. You're ready. But you stay there.
Oh, yeah.
Just for a few seconds longer than you need to.
I know that pause. It's the final check.
But look closer at what you're checking. You're not really looking at yourself with admiration. You're scanning.
Scanning for what? Like flaws?
You're scanning for how others will see you. You're trying to jump out of your own skin and simulate the world's gaze. You're thinking, how will my boss read this shirt? Or will this haircut make me look older or younger to that person I'm meeting?
That's a little creepy when you put it that way. It's like you're trying to become a stranger to yourself for a second.
It's a small moment, but the Stoics would say it's a dangerous one because it reveals a split. The Stoic question isn't, do you look good? It's the much more uncomfortable question. Are you grooming to live better? Or are you grooming to be looked at better?
Man, that is such a sharp distinction. Because on the surface, the action is identical. I'm brushing my hair. But the engine driving it is completely different.
Completely different. And that's why, before we go any further, we have to just totally debunk that misconception we started with.
Right. Stoicism is not an excuse to be a slob.
I was kind of hoping that was the takeaway, just stop showering and call it philosophy.
Sadly, no. I mean, Epictetus, one of the most hardcore Stoic teachers, this guy was a former slave, super tough. He actually warned his students about this.
What did he say?
He basically told them, don't confuse preserving the body with worshiping it. But he also didn't want them walking around smelling bad just to prove a point.
Right, because that's just vanity in the other direction, isn't it? Look how much I don't care. It's still a performance for other people.
Exactly. It's performative neglect. And the sources point to Marcus Aurelius as the perfect example to just shatter this whole sloppy Stoic myth.
We have to remember who he was. Not a hermit. He was the Roman emperor.
The most powerful man on the planet.
Right. And think about his day-to-day. Court rituals, military parades, the Senate. He wore the imperial purple. Which, by the way, was this dye so expensive, it was literally worth more than gold.
So he couldn't exactly show up in sweatpants.
No. If he had shown up looking dirty or neglected, it wouldn't have just been a personal choice. It would have been an insult to his role. It would have signaled instability in the empire.
So his appearance was part of the job.
And that's the key. His question wasn't, do I look good? It was, am I maintaining this appearance to serve my role? Or am I doing it to buy the feeling of being recognized?
To buy the feeling. I love that. It frames it as a transaction.
It is a transaction. And for a Stoic, It is always a bad deal. They don't mind a good appearance. They just oppose letting that appearance become the center of your identity.
So it's like, okay, picture two people. They're wearing the exact same sharp suit. They look identical.
Got it.
Person A wears it out of respect for the occasion. They're meeting a client, doing their job, and the suit is just the uniform for that. It's a courtesy.
Okay. And person B,
Person B wears it because they are terrified of being judged. They need that suit to scream, I am successful, I matter.
so the exterior's the same, but the interior life, one is calm, the other is just riddled with anxiety.
And the Stoic only cares about that internal motivation. Which brings us to what the sources call the modern trap. Because today, appearance isn't just clothing, it's a language.
Oh, it's a full-blown communication system, especially now.
It is. In the modern world, your appearance is a signal. Your clothes signal status. Your body shape, fit or not, is immediately interpreted as a sign of your discipline or your laziness.
Even your self-care routine is seen as a measure of your value as a person.
It's true. Someone looks put together, we automatically assume they have their life together. We trust them more.
And that brings us to this metric from the notes that I think is the most critical idea here for modern listeners. It's called time versus mind.
This one really stuck with me. I think I'm guilty of this. But break it down. It's not just about how long you're in the bathroom, is it?
No, and that's the trick. You might look at your watch and say, I'm very stoic. I only spend 10 minutes physically grooming, brushing teeth, combing hair. On paper, it's a tiny part of your day.
Right, so you think you're fine.
But then you might spend hours mentally thinking about how others perceive you.
Oof, okay, yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
The physical act is done. You've left the house. But your brain is still stuck in front of that mirror. You're in a meeting, but 30% of your focus is on whether your hair looks weird from the side. You're on a date, wondering if your shirt makes you look fat.
It's like a background app running on your phone, just constantly draining the battery, even when you're not actively using it.
That's a perfect analogy. The source argues that if grooming pulls you into that mental state, the problem isn't your shirt. The problem is the power of the gaze. You've let other people's eyes colonize your mind. You're paying a mental tax all day long.
Which is exhausting. It explains why you can feel so tired at the end of the day, even if you haven't done much. You've been managing this mental avatar of yourself.
Seneca actually talked about this. He drew this brilliant line between respect and admiration.
We use those words like they're the same thing, but they're not, are they?
Not at all. Respect is tied to your character. It's deep, it's earned over time. It's about who you are. Are you trustworthy? Are you kind? That's respect.
Not admiration.
Admiration, in this context, is often tied to appearance. It's superficial, it's wow, nice watch, or you look great.
Yeah.
And the dangerous shift happens when we start grooming to be admired instead of respected.
Our whole internal axis shifts. We stop asking, how am I living? And we start asking, how do I look?
Precisely, and this is where it gets really tricky in our culture. Because this vanity often disguises itself as virtue.
What do you mean by that?
Well, think about wellness culture. Eating clean, working out constantly, always dressing sharp. On the surface, that looks like discipline. It looks virtuous.
Yeah, we applaud that. We say, look how disciplined they are. They get up at 4 a.m. to go running.
But the Stoic asks, what's the anchor point? If you're running at 4 a.m. because you love how it feels and the clarity it gives you, fantastic. But if the anchor is fear, if you are terrified of gaining a single pound because of what people will think, that's not discipline, that's dependence.
That is a huge distinction. You can look like the most disciplined person in the room, but if you completely fall apart the second someone criticizes your shoes, you're not actually disciplined at all. You're just dependent on their approval.
That is the core Stoic difference between care and dependence. Care is when you control the behavior. If you don't look perfect one day, you're fine. Your self-respect is stable. Dependence is when the behavior controls you.
Give me a real-world example of that dependence.
It's the wobble.
The wobble.
You know the feeling. A single offhand comment from a coworker. A bad photo of you gets tagged online.
Yeah.
You walk into a room and immediately see someone who looks younger or fitter or better dressed.
And your stomach just dropped.
That's it. That sudden internal instability. That's the wobble. It's proof that your self-worth was placed on something external. If you were standing on your own character, a bad photo wouldn't knock you over. But because you were standing on your appearance, and appearance is so fragile, you wobble.
So why is it so hard to just not care? I mean, I hear you. Intellectually, I get it. But emotionally, I still want the compliment. I still dread the bad photo.
Because we're human. We crave validation. The source material talks about this as a crutch. Think about the timing.
Okay.
Character, your actual worth, your honesty, that takes a long, long time to be seen by others. Months, years.
Right. You can't fake being a good person for a decade.
But appearance, that gives you immediate feedback. A glance, a compliment, a like, it's instant.
It's a dopamine hit.
It's a shortcut. And it acts as a cover, a shield for our internal insecurity. It covers up that deep fear of being not enough or being rejected. When we feel we look good, we feel, for a moment, safe.
But the problem with the shield is it can be broken.
Or it just wears out. The source talks about the collapse. What happens when that shield is threatened by aging? Or comparison? Or worse, just indifference? When no one even notices you at all.
If your entire value is in your looks, losing them must feel like you're losing yourself.
It feels like a total collapse of the self.
Yeah.
And that's why the Stoic solution isn't to ignore society and become a hermit. It's to just reorder your priorities. Character first, appearance second.
The sources mention something about emotional signals here, that our feelings, even the bad ones, are data points.
Yes, this is a very practical Stoic exercise. Pay attention to that feeling when you're annoyed you got ignored, or when you feel insecure because you saw someone better dressed.
My first instinct is just to push that feeling down and tell myself to stop being silly.
Don't push it down. Examine it. That feeling isn't wrong. It's data. It's a bright flashing light telling you exactly where you've placed your value. If you're devastated by a lack of compliments, that feeling is telling you, warning, you have placed your worth in their hands.
That's powerful. It turns a bad feeling into a diagnostic tool. Okay, so we know the problem. What's the boundary? How do we use our body like a tool and not worship it like a master?
Epictetus gives us this fantastic analogy. He says, care for the body as one caring for a tool, not as one worshiping an idol.
Tools versus idols. I have to admit, comparing my body to a hammer feels a little, I don't know, cold, utilitarian.
It is cold,
Yeah.
but the Stoics would say that in this case, cold is liberating. Think about a good hammer. If you're a carpenter, you keep it clean, you don't let it rust, you make sure the grip is solid. Why?
So it works, so it drives the nails straight.
Exactly. But, and this is the key, you don't polish it and put it on a velvet pillow. You don't have a meltdown if it gets a scratch while you're building a house.
Because the scratch proves it's doing its job.
Right. An idol, on the other hand, is something you worship to get your value from. You serve the idol, it doesn't serve you. If the idol gets a scratch, it's a catastrophe.
So if my appearance is a tool, I maintain it so I can navigate the world and do my job, but I don't worship it. Okay, but how do you know which one it is in the moment? The line feels blurry sometimes. I tell myself I'm maintaining the tool, but maybe I'm just being vain.
You find out when there's a conflict. The sources call it the conflict test.
Okay.
Imagine you have to choose between keeping a promise to a friend and showing up looking perfect. Which one do you pick? Or, and this is a big one, do you ever delay necessary work because you aren't ready to be seen?
Wow. Yeah, I can't go to the store, I haven't done my hair, or I can't turn my camera on for this meeting, the lighting's bad.
A lot of people delay living because they aren't ready to be seen.
That's the idol talking.
That's the idol. If you prioritize the image over the duty, it's an idol. Marcus Aurelius understood the emperor's image was a political tool for stability, but he never ever placed it above his actual duty.
There's another term in the notes, internal leakage. It sounds a bit gross, but it seems important.
It is a bit graphic. It refers to the subtle ways we negotiate with our own character just to save face. It's the little white lie, bending the truth, avoiding a tough conversation just because you want everyone to like you.
Ah, so you're compromising your integrity to maintain the image of being a nice or perfect person.
The Stoics see that as a leak. You are leaking your own character to patch up your image. You're trading something permanent for something temporary.
You're selling a piece of your soul for a moment of applause.
And that is always a bad trade.
To make this really concrete, the sources give us two clear examples. Let's walk through them, because they nail the difference between healthy grooming and unhealthy obsession.
Okay, first, the Stoic professional. This person dresses well, appropriate for the context. A lawyer in a suit, a mechanic in clean coveralls.
And the reason is not vanity.
No. The reason is to facilitate their work and show respect. It reduces what you could call social friction. It makes it easier for people to trust them and work with them.
Okay, that's the baseline. But what's the test? What happens when things go wrong?
This is the test. A crisis hits. The lawyer has to run through a downpour to file a document on time. The mechanic has to crawl under a muddy truck to fix a leak.
So they get messy, they look terrible, hair's a wreck.
And The Stoic professional. They don't hesitate. They don't freak out about it. They don't feel lesser as a person because their appearance is chaotic.
Because their self-respect is independent of the mirror.
Exactly. The appearance was just a tool. And when the tool needed to get dirty to do the job, they let it get dirty without a second thought.
Now contrast that with the second example, the dependent groomer.
This person also dresses well, maybe even better, more fashionable. They follow all the trends, have a meticulous skincare routine. On social media, they look incredibly successful.
But there's a trap.
The trap is that their entire life revolves around maintaining that image.
These are the people who will cancel plans because they're having a bad hair day or don't feel like they look right.
Yes. Or a bad photo online ruins their whole day. Or they can't focus in a meeting because they're worried about unflattering lighting. The verdict is they have handed their autonomy over to the outside world.
They are not free.
They are not free at all. They are bound by the obligation to look a certain way. It's a kind of servitude. Seneca would say there is no slavery worse than being a slave to the opinions of others.
It's just exhausting even talking about it.
It is. It takes an incredible amount of energy to maintain a facade. You have to constantly be monitoring the audience to make sure they're still clapping.
So as we wrap this up, let's look at the cold principles. I call them cold because they're not exactly warm and fuzzy. They're pretty strict.
They are strict, but I would argue they're liberating. The Stoic stance isn't advice on what to wear. You will not find a dress code in Epictetus. It's a challenge to your internal order.
So what's the rule?
The principle is this. You are allowed to groom to reduce social friction, to be approachable, to look professional. Fine. But you are not allowed to groom to fill an empty internal void. You cannot use moisturizer to fix a hole in your soul.
We should put that on a t-shirt. You cannot use moisturizer to fix a hole in your soul.
It's harsh, but it's true. And that Seneca quote about poverty just drives it home.
There is no greater poverty than relying on applause.
Think about that. When you depend on the gaze of others for your well-being, you are so easily bought. If I can control your mood simply by complimenting you or ignoring you, then I own you.
That's terrifying. It makes you realize how much power we give away every single day just for a nod of approval.
The Stoic goal is to be a person who cannot be bought by a glance.
Which brings us to the final provocative question the source material leaves us with. It's a litmus test.
This is the ultimate test, and I want every listener to actually pause for a second and ask themselves this.
Lay it on us.
If tomorrow no one would see you, no one would compliment you, and no one would compare you, would you still maintain yourself in this way?
And if the answer is yes,
then your appearance is serving your life. You're doing it for yourself, for hygiene, for your own sense of order. You are using the tool.
and if the answer is no, if you realize you just let it all go if the audience disappeared,
Then your life is serving your appearance. You are worshiping the idol. And it might be time to take back the controls.
a heavy question to leave us with, but a necessary one. We'll be back next time with another deep dive. Until then, take a look in the mirror, but maybe don't stay there too long.
Stay stoic.